Hey guys, it's me. Welcome to week 3. Before I get started on teaching lessons 1.9 and 110 for week 3, I want to do a little bit of review over the last 4 lessons that we did last week. It seems like there were a couple of common errors, and so I wanted to deal with those errors so that hopefully we can take care of any kind of misunderstanding before we get to the test this week. So I'm dropping into my whiteboard and kind of moving things around so I'll have something to mark with, and I'm just trying to get it ready. The very first thing that I want to do is I want to solve problem number 6 on 1.5. So you should go to your book and just flip over to page 1.5, and I'm actually going to do the review problem. So it's on page 21. I'm going to do the review problem number 6. I just want to work through this problem with you so that you can see the steps that I take in order to solve this problem. Several of you missed this problem or just really didn't understand how to go about doing this problem, so I just kind of want to walk through everything. So this problem says simplify each expression, and I'll start down here and try to write it as neatly as possible. It starts with this fraction 2/3, and this fraction is squared. And then we're adding it to this huge quantity that's inside a bracket. Actually has a 4 on the outside. Let me not miss that. And then we have the bracket 5, and then we're going to multiply that by 3 plus 2. And let me close my parentheses and close my bracket. I'm going to try to keep this as neat as possible using this tool. Okay, so we have to use please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. And hopefully you remember by now that P stands for parentheses, E is exponents, so like my little XY, M is multiplication, D is division, A is addition, and S is subtraction. And hopefully you also remember that we do multiplication and division in the same step, moving left to right, and that we do the same thing for addition and subtraction. We do them in the same step, moving left to right. Now, hopefully this little key is something that makes sense to you. I would write it down on the corner of my paper. When you do your test this week, I would definitely write it down on the corner of my paper so that you can use it as a reminder. If this key does not make sense to you, I need to know. I need you to send me a private message or an email and say, I do not understand PEMDAS. And we can spend some one-on-one time making sure that you do. I don't mind to meet you online or answer any questions that you might have, but you need to understand this or the rest of Algebra 1 is going to be a real trippy landfall for you. So the very first thing I need to look for is parentheses. Parentheses, parentheses. There are several different parentheses. I can see there's some parentheses happening here. I see a bracket here, and I see a smaller parenthesis here. Okay, this first one right here, this really isn't much. There's nothing to do in this parenthesis. It's squared. That's an exponent. But there's nothing to do in the parentheses, so I just let that one go. I don't have to get there yet. That parentheses is complete. The next situation I got to deal with is all of this. But like we talked before, we always want to start with the innermost parentheses. So I'm really just dealing with this. 3 plus 2 first. That's where I have to start. 3 plus 2 is 5. So I'm just bringing in my 5, and I'm copying everything else down. And this is what takes so long, but it's just part of the process. Some of you are missing some points because you're just not neat. A little shout out here, Owen, you are very neat. Your paper is the easiest to grade. So stay neat. It will be your best friend. I am still in parentheses. I still have this one right here that doesn't need any work. It's an exponent, so I can just wait till I get to my E. But this bracket is a parentheses, and if you read what's inside of it, it literally says 5 times 5. So this is my next step, 5 times 5. So 5 times 5 is 25. And I can leave it in brackets, or I could put it down in parentheses. It doesn't matter. Parentheses is just the baby version of brackets. And once I'm finished with brackets, I could put it in parentheses. You could leave it in brackets. It really doesn't matter. Just make sure you have the 4 on the outside. And again, I'm copying everything else down. I know that copying things down can get redundant, but you have to pay attention. If you mess up one of these numbers and inverse it and put something else, your problem's done. Okay, I am now finished with parentheses. There's not a single parenthesis that is left that needs me to do anything. So now I can move on to exponents. So I'll grab a different color here. I have an exponent. I can see it right here. What this exponent says, I'll just kind of do a little sidebar. What it says is 2/3. I can just keep my little parentheses because it has parentheses. It's fine. Multiply by 2/3. That's what it says. It says I literally write 2/3 twice. That's what my little squared up here means. I literally write 2/3 twice and then I multiply them. Well, this isn't the most beautiful way to write a 2/3 times 2/3 multiplication. Maybe you would want to go through here and delete the parentheses. Oh, it didn't delete. Okay, maybe I would want to write it like this. 2/3 times 2/3. This might look a little bit less daunting to you. But if I'm multiplying fractions, the rule simply says that I just multiply straight across. So I literally multiply 2 times 2, which is 4, and 3 times 3, which is 9. So this whole business right here, this 2/3 squared, is literally just 4/9. That's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with 4/9. Okay, so now I'm finished with that. I do not see any more exponents, so I'm just going to copy everything else down. Copying every step down is super redundant. I've said that several times. I'm kind of being redundant about my copying redundancy. But if you will copy all of your steps down and then I see that you make a mathematical error, many of you will see a little 1/2 when I'm grading your math problems. It means, hey, I see you're on the right track there. You just did a mathematical error, and so I'm going to give you half credit. If you just give me the answer, I can't do that. Okay, so I have this fraction bar, which is actually a division problem, and I have this situation that says 4 times 25. Now, at this point, this could get a little trippy for you because this could be miscued as a division problem, and it is. But I would just leave it as a fraction right now because it's not hurting you, and we might be able to just leave this situation in a fraction form. So I don't know that I would say 4 divided by 9. If you were to do 4 divided by 9, you literally could read this fraction, and some of you missed some fraction problems, by the way, but this could literally be read 4 divided by 9. And I could just put this into my really cheap little calculator here, and I could say 4 divided by 9, and I would end up with 0.444444 remaining. By the way, some of you missed this on 1.5, the practice problems. If I wanted to put that in the calculator, I could, but I'm going to get this decimal that doesn't have any kind of ending, so it doesn't make sense to do that. So I'm just going to focus on the multiplication. 4 times 5 is 100. So I'm going to copy down my 4 over 9 plus 100. Now at this point, I have a whole number right here and a fraction. And if I'm trying to add my whole numbers and my fraction together, the easiest way to do that is just to literally crunch them together. I have 104/9. Now, I believe that this is the final answer, and I'm completely fine if this is what you give me for your final answer. Abeka did not say this, so I'm not holding you responsible for it, but they actually want the final answer in an improper fraction form. And let me show you how you turn a mixed number into an improper fraction. Okay, this is a mixed number into an improper fraction. You take the denominator of your fraction, this is a 9, and you multiply it by the whole number. So I'm doing a multiplication here. So 9 times 100 is 900. And then I add the numerator, and that's a 4. So I would end up with 904 over 9. So this answer, this 904 over 9, this is what Abeka wanted. I'm completely satisfied with 104/9. I do not see the reason for taking a problem to an improper fraction. But if you had either of these two as your final answer, it would be counted correctly. So this is 1.5 review problem number 6. Okay, I'm going to clear off everything. I'm going to do another review problem. I'm going to do 1.6. And I'm going to do problem number 5. I'm just flipping here to my page in my book. So I'm going to be doing another review problem for you. So this is 1.6, and this is review problem number 5. So again, it says simplify each expression. This is a big expression, so I'm going to go ahead and put my cheat sheet up here. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. It just helps keep me in track as far as what I'm trying to do. And let me copy down this problem for you. I have 2 in a bracket, 3, a parentheses, 8 minus 5 parentheses bracket divided by 12 minus 2 times 3 minus 4. It's a little bit daunting. There's a lot of steps here, okay? To start off, just to kind of bring to your mind, you can work kind of the numerator with its own set of please excuse my dear Aunt Sally's, and then the denominator with its also own step, or you can do all of the numerator and then come back and do all of the denominator. But they are essentially like there's a top half that you need to work through in order of please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, and then there's a bottom half that you need to work through. So the very first thing I need to do for the numerator for the top half is my parentheses, and I have a bracket and I have a parenthesis. So you know we always have to work inside out. So this is what we're solving. 8 minus 5. Now down here on the denominator, I don't have any parentheses. I don't have any exponents. So the very first problem I have to deal with down here is this multiplication. And it says -2 times 3. So I'm going to I'll bring my red here, and I'm going to clean up what I have. My 2 is going to stay out. I have a bracket. I have a 3. 8 minus 5 is also 3. And I'll close everything up. So I completed one step in the numerator, and in the denominator, 12. -2 times 3 is a -6, because a negative times a positive is a negative, and 2 times 3 is 6. -4. The bottom's not difficult. We don't have much left there. The top, okay, I'm still on parentheses. I had something to do here inside this bracket, and that basically says 3 times 3. So I'm going to have to go 3 times 3 is 9. Again, I could keep my brackets. I'll just keep brackets around it this time. I could have just dropped that down to parentheses. It doesn't matter if you use a bracket or parentheses. It really has no importance. Here, I'm just to straight subtraction. So I'm always going to move left to right, because remember, multiplication and division and addition and subtraction works left to right. And I essentially have 2 subtraction problems here. So I'm going to say 12 minus 6 is 6. And then 6 minus 4 is 2. That leaves me with only a multiplication problem on the top. 2 times 9. 2 times 9 is 18. Divided by 2, which is 9. So some of you could have looked at this last section right here a little differently. So the final answer is 9. But some of you might have said, well, I could cancel this 2 and this 2, and that just leaves me with a 9 here. If you know how to do that and you can get to that level faster, then by all means do that. But so some of you are to the point where you're still a little bit confused about this. So if I had 18 and the fraction is 2, there's a couple of ways I can reduce it. I could literally just say 18 divided by 2, pop that bad boy into my calculator, and as long as it's a whole number, I'm in good shape. It's 9, I'm finished. The other thing I could do is reduce it. If I didn't realize 18 divided by 2 was 9, I could reduce it and say, okay, they're both even. So since they're both even, I'm going to divide the top by 2, which will be 9. And I'm going to divide the bottom by 2, 2 divided by 2, which is going to be 1. And anything over 1 is just actually the whole number itself. So that's a review from lesson 1.6, 1.5, and 1.6. I'm going to stop the video now, and then I'll make another video reviewing 1.7 and 1.8. Please watch them all, because we're all still struggling a little bit with these concepts, and you don't want it to play out in your test.